Good morning. It's August 23rd, 2016. I will call the Wright County Board meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes of August 16th.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda. Any amendments to the agenda?
Hearing none, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Hewsom, second by Commissioner Potter. Any further discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Delyden,
Second.
second by Burrell. Any further discussion? I guess my only comment would be B1. I think we said a year ago, and I predict this moves into the future, that we're providing half the rent for that only because it's vacant and we do not have responsibility for classroom space for schools. And I think we charge the same rent to everybody relative to the federal formula for reimbursement and whatnot, and that's why that's the number, so. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. 9:05, Bob Hevela, good morning.
Good morning, Board. The first item on the agenda is to approve an easement on tax forfeited property. Xcel Energy contacted us. They need to do some utility work, so they need to encroach on one of our tax forfeited properties. Brian's here to walk through the motion that you need to take, so.
I don't know if the Elmo's on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Maybe kind of hard to see. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We've had a few requests like this in the past. The property we're talking about is a narrow strip on the north boundary of the city of Rockford. It's highlighted in blue there. I think this parcel forfeited within the past couple of years and may have been on the public auction and not sold. In any event, the statutes say that Bob can sign off on an easement like this once it's been approved by the board. And the proposal from NSP is to, there's some kind of line that they need to replace that's servicing this neighborhood. And the proposal would involve the north 10 feet of this parcel. So basically up against the northern limits of it. And hopefully you have in your packets, I think it's a 2 or 3 page document that would accomplish that. Just here to answer any questions there might be.
So this is a permanent easement then?
It would be a permanent easement. I had been contacted, oh gosh, 3-4 months ago about this. Then I think there was a change in staffing or something at Excel, and then we just heard from them again recently. So,
Charlie?
Brian, I do have a couple of things. So, did they offer any compensation for doing that? Because I
This
mean,
is $1.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because that's going to lower. I mean, no matter. I mean, we
Oh,
can't sell it now. It's
I
going
was thinking the same thing. It
Yeah.
seems like it'd be worth more than $1 to.
Not, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, not that I know of, other than sending the document. But I can certainly respond to them with that question.
And then I guess, I just had it's 2 items that are on here, and and this is one of them, and then item B, with the adoption of resolution for the sale of abandoned personal property on some tax forfeited land. I'm just wondering if those 2 items, we probably could have put together and had a tax forfeiture committee meetings, just so we could air that out a little bit more. And I don't know who to address that to, but I would have liked to seen this, have Mike and I maybe look at it a little more, and then we could go over some of these details before it gets to this level.
Mhm.
But
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got Mark and then Mike.
I'm just wondering, how wide is that?
10 feet.
The parcel itself, I'm not sure the width, the parcel is listed as having about 3/4 of an acre. And why it was platted that way, I'm not exactly sure. The developer who let it go forfeit to the state was Backus Companies, Backes,
Backus, yeah.
I believe.
And how much was the bid for it last time when it went up for sale? What price
That's a
do we
good,
have?
I
on
don't, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, I don't have that information.
That's, I guess I'd like to know that stuff because.
I can
would-
tell you that the assessor's office only has about, I want to say $3,000.
That's what I mean. I'm just thinking Excel could buy that property.
Yeah, they probably don't want it though, because if they only need 10 feet, they don't want to pay taxes on and maintenance and liability on
I
that,
know they don't want to, but
but.
I'll say, yeah,
Mike?
10 feet for access.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian, with this outlot, since you said it was 3 acres in size, it wasn't part of an outlot like a future
You say 3 acres or
subdivision part
3/4 of an acre?
3/4 of an
Quarters of an acre, so it's, so is that drainage in there, in that particular site?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Potter, I should have looked at the original plat, I did not. I'm thinking that this is, oh, it is an outlot, it's outlot A of Wood Hill Ridge.
Well, sometimes developers do outlots with the future, with the expectation of future, they're gonna turn it into phase 2. And sometimes it's just for utilities or drainage or whatever, and it's just never gonna be amount to anything.
I can look at that plat, I don't think there's any time sensitivity here, if you want me to look at the plat and
well, that's.
maybe approach them with
I was just
a,
gonna ask that. If there's not, maybe we could just run this through
Table
the
it.
tax forfeiture committee too.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to table this, to get more information.
We could send it to the tax forfeiture committee. That's what I'd like to do, but.
We got a motion to table, is there a second?
I'll second
Uh,
it. And
Second
then,
by Deline, when you say table, I mean, table to come back in a certain, what are we laying over, or we?
Get more information to answer the questions that we've addressed here.
and that could be part of it being sent to the tax forfeit
Okay,
committee
that's,
too.
that we can
If
make
that's
that.
what it
Depending on-
entails, yeah.
But I mean, and it says NSP on here, and I don't
That's what
think
I noticed too.
That's
NSP doesn't exist anymore.
Later.
that's, it
NSP does exist.
Mr. Chair.
They do, it's one of their, kind of the subsidiary of Excel, I believe, or
Oh,
something
really?
like that, isn't it?
We've had various documents, in fact, when we worked on, remember the rerouting of CASA 75 up by the nuclear plant, there was a change in alignment. The easement documents were signed by NSP, which kind of surprised me, but they do have their subsidiaries of Excel.
Yeah, like,
Or else
Tax-
Excel is a
tax
subsidiary.
advantages.
well, and I think part of it, liability standpoint, one number of years back, they put their nuclear plants all in one corporation, for example. I suppose that way, if something had a problem with that industry, it doesn't create a drag on the rest of their,
Shields the rest of the
Portfolio,
entity
you
from-
know.
yeah.
but, so, just so I understand then, Mike, it's more a motion to lay over for additional information?
Correct.
Okay.
You know,
And that's
if-
what the second was, so, okay.
And if the layover involves sending it to tax forfeit committee, I want to actually go see the property. If it's in Rockford, I want to talk to them, say they see what's going on. I just want to make sure that those questions are answered before we go forward.
It almost looks like the road could continue there. So it might have been strictly for
Right away.
future easements, right-of-way, drainage, and all that sort of
Yeah, yeah.
stuff,
It could-
just by the looks of it.
It could be that the city required them to, when they platted it, to have that there. And
How many feet wide? We didn't know how many feet wide it was, did we?
No,
It's
but
not
it looks-
66 feet wide, is it?
it's similar to the street, the city street
Well, if
there.
it's
so-
66 feet wide, then you're probably exactly right. It had something to do with the possible road.
Yeah, just by looking at the way that road continues and dead ends out there, and then there's that huge, empty, large acreage.
Right, but look at all the roads going
Yeah.
and the driveways going.
And I'll be down in Rockford tonight, so I'd get a map of that and check with them and see what they think.
But I
Mr.
think
Chair, I
Charlie's
would-
right too. I don't, I know it's properties in tax forfeiture, but if something has a value of much more than $1, it shouldn't be $1, then it should be what it is. And
Mr. Chair, I would mention,
regardless of,
too that we always offer these to the city. So when this first went forfeit, we offered it to the city of Rockford. They were not interested, but
How long ago was this, Brian?
I think it forfeited 2 years ago. I want to say there were a number
That's
of
when they were
Backus
doing the transition
properties.
from Nancy, Dan. So that, you could have got lost in the transition there. So Dan's the new administrator there, so I just want to make sure that he's fully aware of this, because 2 years ago is when he took over.
Okay.
And then if they were going to make a road through there at some time, we might not want electric poles down the middle of it, you know, so.
So I'm assuming it's underground anyway.
No, it's poles, isn't it?
I'm thinking underground, but
Oh,
I can double check
Well-
on that as well.
Even then, I suppose you'd want to make sure you put it right so it didn't impact how you built that road.
Yep. If it is a road, or even if it's drainage ditch, whatever.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, is there a expected timeline to bring that back, or just leave it open?
I'll try to
And I assume it's okay here with the board then if part of this layover is, usually if something goes to committee, the board specifically sends it there. So part of this motion would be okay with folks if it got sent to that committee then too in the process.
I think so.
Got that, Lee?
Yeah.
That wouldn't have to come back to board to go to committee then?
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, one quick question. I mean, should we set a forfeiture committee date?
I think we should, and I'd like to have the next item be on there too, for the property on those. Just so we can look at it,
So we can talk about that
yeah,
when we get to
I
it.
guess so.
You know, board, with the budget schedules coming up, I hate to squeeze things in early, but
We-
next Tuesday morning at 8:30,
We could do that, we could just come in before board. Would you be
Mike,
able
would that be all
to,
right?
you'd be able to do some research by then, Mike?
Well, this particular item, I'll be talking with Dan tonight.
Okay, so next Tuesday at 8:30 would work.
Brian, would that be all right, next Tuesday at
Okay,
8:30?
someone want to make a motion?
Auditor Treasurer's
I'll
Conference?
make that motion.
Oh, Chris.
Motion by Houston, second by Burrell. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Board, the second item on the agenda is to award the bids for the County Ditch 10 and Joint Ditch 4 work. Remember last week, we opened up the bids, saw that they were kind of all over the place. We met with Mike following the board meeting, and we vetted out those bids, and it is our recommendation to award them to the lowest bidders. The board, I'm asking you to award Consolidated Landscape, Inc., the bid for the repair in County Ditch 10 for the amount of $15,400.
Is it Landscape Inc. or Land Care Inc.?
Land Care, Inc., sorry.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner DeLyden, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Board, the second one was to award Ed Retman Jr. Excavating the bid for repair on JD4 in the amount of $13,750. Ed's has done work for Wright County in the past. He was the lowest bidder, so it's our recommendation that you award that bid to Ed.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner DeLyden. It looks like he did not bid on the other one that we just approved.
Commissioners, I believe you're right, he did not bid on.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Board, the third item on the agenda, update on the recount. I'd like to really give Jackie a chance to come up here and talk about how that recount had gone over. So here's Jackie.
He gets the airtime.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. District 2 Commissioner recount was last Thursday. We ended up finding one additional vote for Derek Vetch, and that took away from the other, which was no votes, undervotes, whatever. And then the canvas board met yesterday afternoon to confirm the results. So there was just one change, one vote.
And the reason for the change, it was something about a different color ink? or
Yeah, we believe there was there was one ballot that had really light color blue ink. It was, we believe that the machine didn't pick it up, so.
It was a hanging Chad.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
To clarify, though, the results did not change, though?
No.
Okay,
Right. Derek is still the second.
okay,
Instead of the 4-vote difference, it was 5 votes.
got it.
So the results changed, it just did not impact the winners.
Hey, you get to
Okay.
sign that.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Right, we know what you meant to say.
Let it be known today that Pat called that one on that primary.
9:15. Brian Osselson again.
Good morning. The resolution you have before you is kind of I guess I would classify it, Mr. Chair, as a routine matter. We've done it the last 2 years when we've had a list of tax forfeited properties that we're going to put up at public auction. The two properties that are listed specifically have buildings on them that are full of junk, basically. The Monticello parcel, we've talked with the city. They're interested. We're hoping to get sentenced to service up there to clean up the outside of the building, but there's furniture and just personal property left inside from the previous resident. With the city of Otsego property, we haven't heard from the city, but there's a mobile home, a garage with some personal property in. Both structures would likely need to be demolished, but in order for us to, when we go through the tax forfeiture process, of course, it only deals with real property, real estate. And so the Red Book, which is kind of our Bible, if you will, for tax forfeiture matters, suggests that we have a resolution from the board to seize the personal property that's been abandoned. And then we go through a process that is much like what a landlord would do if a tenant moved out and left a bunch of stuff behind. We notify them by both regular mail and certified mail to the last known address, and then hold a sale, if you will, at Bob's front desk. And in the past, we've never had anyone show up, so the county has then taken possession of the property. I think it's safe to say that with both of these properties, and if you'll notice that last whereas, we say, we list the two properties, but we say including but not limited to the following parcels. If there is junk on the other land-only parcels, like junked cars, we also take possession of those at that time and then can either salvage them or, whatever we need to do.
Brian, the parcel in Monticello, that's not the one where they were talking about burning it down, is it?
Mr. Chair, it is not. This one, actually, the city building official, or one of the city building officials went through with Bob and indicated, there was some mold and some water damage, but he felt that it was fixable. And so we're selling it as we do with all tax forfeit properties as is, but hoping that someone can work with the city and actually get it back into a state where somebody can live there. So it's a 1970s era split entry, just in bad shape.
What does the committee have for a price on that, or haven't they set one yet?
My recollection, Mr. Chair, is $115,000. The original assessed value was much higher than that. It was closer to $150,000, $160,000. Tony took a look at it, Tony Rasmussen, and said that he would knock it down just because of the condition of the house itself.
Adjust the price.
Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Potter,
Second that.
second by Commissioner Houston. Any further discussion?
It's just, the only thing I would say is, this is something that, it wouldn't hurt to run through the tax forfeiture committee. We don't meet that often, I know, and usually these are pretty quick items, so maybe in the future, Brian, maybe just run it by Mike or I and see if something we want to look at. I'm okay.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Burrell, I would say that it is a common problem in that when people leave their property, whether there be a building or not, they usually leave stuff behind, and it's more of a headache for us than anything. But if we saw significant value in anything, we'd certainly try. And I can think of one situation several years ago where we had a townhouse in Buffalo that went tax forfeit, and there was some obvious property that had family value, or there were heirlooms, you might say. And there we actually located the previous owner. She was living in a nursing home, and the family was able to get back some items like photos and things like that. So we try to be sensitive to those types of things.
I was just thinking, it's a couple more sets of eyes, I guess, but I remember a property that Mark had looked at, and it came directly to the board too, where the garage you felt was still savable, and they were gonna kind of, the
Yep,
talk
I
was
remember
to
that
tear
one.
everything
Just
down,
down the street
and
from
I
this
think
other
we did keep the garage then, because Mark said he was out and looked at it and felt that it was in good enough shape to salvage or
Oh,
whatever.
that was in Otsego also.
Otsego,
That
yeah.
was a trailer where the trailer had to get out of there.
Yeah.
The trailer
Anyway,
was just
I just-
destroyed.
I just think it doesn't hurt, I guess, that's my, but anyway, I'm okay with this.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Committee minutes. Capital Improvement Finance Committee, Commissioner Delyden, please.
Capital Improvement Committee met on August 10th. Members present were myself, Swatsky, Kelly, and Virgin. Others present were Hila and Tom Kelly. Excuse me, those members were absent. Others present were Tagaro, Nelson, Strobel, Hoffman, Young, Rathner, Partlow, Wilczek, and West. We went with an overview of the draft 2017-2021 capital improvement plan. The whole idea behind the CIP, it's a tool to assist in long-range planning that communicates the priorities and future needs of the county. We had seen the different way it was laid out. It's broken down in a number of different things. Enterprise project, normally this is technology, and a lot of it's because there is no way that some of these things can be accomplished on a year-to-year basis, so it's designed to set money aside for enterprise, technology-type projects so that somebody's not buying something at the end of the year to get it into the budget year, and then it sits on a shelf. Was also discussed in the different county facility building needs, some of the administration projects, the assessors, which is a big, the camera project will be pushed out to 2018. Attorneys, auditor, treasurer, highway, human services, parks, recorders, sheriffs, and then we also talked about the CIP funding plan. The projects are broken down by year, and then which funding source will be used. That's pretty much about it. All the real nitty-gritty things can be found on the county website, or will be able to be found on the county website with the breakdowns on everything.
I got one correction.
Yep.
Under Parks on page 2, it mentions Harrington responded to a question, and he's not listed as being present, so we need to add him to the others present, Brad Harrington.
Yeah, that's right, he was here. With that, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Motion by Delyden,
I'll second it.
second by Potter. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Chris, Committee of the Whole, please.
All right. Thank you. The Committee of the Whole met on August 10th, 2016. Members present, Sawatsky, Houston, Burrell, Potter, Delyden. Others present, Haggerty, B. Miller, Hoffman, Berg, and Philalucci. And the discussion was transfer of Nuclear Emergency Preparedness Department to the Emergency Manager's Sheriff's Department. And this was a follow-up meeting from the Committee of the Whole held in May. And they were working on revising the impacted job description, and that started. But Kelly would like some direction from the board prior to proceeding further. Philalucci provided an overview of the nuclear preparedness activities conducted by her and her staff from October 2014 to October 2015. It was 1,633 hours over a 12-month period. In addition, she cited an additional 412 hours of events related to nuclear preparedness that staff were not able to attend. In addition, Philalucci said her office receives 7,400 phone calls per year from veterans and their families, and transferring the nuclear preparedness duties would allow her to focus her efforts on serving veterans. The current 2016-2017 nuclear grant was discussed. Historically, this grant has allocated $30,000 to cover staff costs. As Woski noted that in the past, the board has been told that the nuclear grant covers approximately 50% of the wages of the nuclear-related staff, but those costs are greater than $30,000. Additional grant funding should be requested to cover the cost of a new emergency management deputy director position. There was discussion regarding the budget logistics related to transferring nuclear preparedness. These scenarios will need to be discussed during the budget meetings. The committee identified that the job description for an emergency management deputy director should be finalized and rated by the consultant in order to identify the cost of this position for the 2017 budget. The Veteran Service Nuclear Director and Emergency Management Coordinator job descriptions should also be reviewed. So the recommendation is to review and prepare the job descriptions related to the transfer of nuclear preparedness duties. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will move the minutes and the recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Hewsom,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Delyden. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just want to point out that I was a dissenter on this. I felt when we hired Lynette Filiucci in Veteran Service, we specifically looked for somebody that had also had emergency management type things, which she did in a couple of different floods that she was involved with at the Army Reserves or the National Guard, I guess. And I think we've done fantastic on our nuclear drills. We've been graded highly. And I think this is just really shaking up the apple cart, and I don't see the need to do it. I think Lynette is shorthanded, and I would have rather just saw a person added to her department and left the rest of the stuff the same, because I said we do have some redundancy by having emergency management out at the sheriff's office with Steve Berg, and then we would have Lynette down here. And I just think we're missing out because we're not, when the real emergency comes, I think it's better to have an extra person down here doing that. So anyway, just point that out.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Advisory committees, advisory board updates. Charlie, you ready to start, or?
Oh, you know what? Let's start with Chris today.
Chris, go ahead.
All right. Well, I was at a few meetings. This isn't exactly this is just more of information, but they're looking to start a dementia-friendly community in Buffalo. And so I've been kind of recruited to be part of that discussion. So there's an action. Yeah. So anyway, but it's becoming increasingly important just to have communities that are more, people can work more easily. Even something as simple as if you're with someone that has dementia and may act out or whatever, you can hand a card to a business staff when you walk in and say, just to let you know that in case you're wondering why this behavior is, this is why. And probably, I don't know, we haven't really gotten into too much of it, but offering support to caregivers and that kind of thing. So anyway,
awareness.
yeah, building awareness. That's a lot of it. People don't always understand what's going on with someone, and if it makes it a little bit easier to have people in more familiar situations, they're less confused too. I know from experience with my mother. And I also was at the Tri-County Regional Forensic Lab meeting, and the DNA, now I've got this, the bio DNA is up 32%, but the criminal sexual tests are up actually 120%, so they're really soaring. And we are also getting a new software. It's called StarMix, and it's something that's relatively new, but it's a new way of analyzing latent prints and reporting DNA. So anyway, we'll see how that all shakes out as it's implemented.
Can I
And,
ask a question on that?
yep,
Did they give any breakdown on whose 120% that was? In other words, if it went up 120%, is it, what percentage is Wright, Sherburne, and
yeah.
Oka? Was there
Well,
analysis of that?
our, actually, in July, our usage is up. So we're up to 18.8%, and we're paying 22.92%. So we're closer, not overall. The overall for the year, we're still at usage at 15.4%. So it's climbing, but I don't know what the trend will be by the end of the year or
No,
not.
they didn't have a breakdown of where those were, but
Yeah.
I'm assuming that if you requested it, they would have that information available.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, you know, in the success stories, the biology, there was burglary in Wright County. The turnaround time was 10 days, and the CODIS hit to Minnesota convicted offender sample was swab collected from the front door. And another burglary, there again, another convicted offender sample, and they collected a swab from the front door.
You know, I still know why it takes them 10 to 20 days when on CSI on TV.
I know.
It's done within the hour. I just don't get that.
No, it's like 40 minutes, because there's 20 minutes of commercials and a 30 and a 60-minute show. So anyway, there was another one, an auto theft, 10 days, a forensic hit to a Benton County Sheriff's Office auto theft. So there's a lot of success stories going on. We approved the budget, at this level anyway, and it went up 1.76% increase. And Wright County share then would be $385,106. I've got, anybody wants to examine any of that? I was also at the local Emergency Medical Services Advisory Council, and they've got a new pilot program, and this is kind of cool. It's called, there's a Pulse Point app that you can download on your phone, and it sends out, like if someone has a supposed heart attack, it sends out a message to anyone that's in the system within like a 1,500-foot radius, so they can respond to this area, like if you know CPR. And they also will have all the locations of AEDs. So say you're at a church and someone has a heart attack or whatever, well, it'll show you that, yep, there is an AED, you know, located in wherever it is, or if you're downtown or whatever, so they'll show you what businesses might have it. So it's Wright County, part of this pilot program, Wright County, Carver County, Coon Rapids, and University of Minnesota. So we'll see how that it's going to be starting to roll out in October. So, and it'll not necessarily go through, you know, like dispatch, but I don't know exactly how that's all going to work. I mean, our dispatch sergeant was there, so lieutenant was there. So anyway, there again, more to come. But I thought that was kind of a cool thing, that if you get a message that a guy a block away is having a heart attack, if you know CPR, you can respond, because that's, I haven't looked at these statistics for a long time, but I believe that if you put an AED on someone whose heart is stopped, within 5 minutes, they have an 80% chance of surviving, and after that, it decreases rapidly. So anyway, that's about it.
Commissioner Potter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday, Wright County Economic Development Partnership joined up with the Monticello Chamber of Commerce for a learning luncheon, and the subject was transportation. We had Claudia Dumont from MnDOT there, along with Steve Bott from the I-94 Coalition and Virgil Hawkins from the Highway Department. Went over some of the 5-year plan and some of the transportation initiatives that are going on. We had a lot of questions from the chamber how this is affecting what's going on with Highway 25. They were informed about the 25 coalition that was just formed, and MnDOT's on board. Claudia Dumont spoke highly that this is a nice collaboration, and it's going to get its due process. And footnote with that, Highway 25 coalition is meeting this Friday again. I forwarded everything to Commissioner Spotsky so he'd have that information. Other than that, it
We're
was
meeting in a room right next to Mark and I, because we're meeting at 8 AM for Richmond Advisory, so.
Yeah, I won't be there. I have
okay.
employees
But
gone
that,
on Friday. I have to work.
But that was a very well-attended chamber luncheon, and a lot of good questions, good information, and it was just letting people know that we are, in Monticello, we are thinking about what's going on there, and we are trying to formulate a plan for that. And that's all I have for this week, Mr. Chair.
So that after we're dead and gone, that they'll have an idea on what to do.
And Mr. Chair, I said October 1st rollout, September 1st, so I was wrong.
Let's see here. Well, Charlie and I had solar committee last Friday, and I think a couple weeks ago I announced that things had kind of bogged down a bit, but I think we're back in full speed mode on there, and we think that there's, our next meeting is set up for September 2nd, and we think there's a chance that could be our last one, and we might have it put together by then. The key point, I think the big new thing that's going to exist that didn't exist before is the creation of a developers agreement where basically the solar company has to sign a contract with the county that indicates what they're going to do, and if they don't do it, it's going to be right in there that the county has the right to go to the bank and pull from the letter of credit and do those things if the developer is derelict in carrying out those responsibilities. So that's kind of going to be something, probably, would you say, Charlie, the biggest new thing that I think is really going to.
The biggest new thing, and I think the biggest thing, though, was allowing the townships to write their own ordinance that we would enforce to make the thing more restrictive. That helped Franklin and Buffalo Township out.
That was, I mean, that's a kind of a big component for those that have concerns with stuff. And
But I think, yeah, this is gonna be a big thing because it kind of holds their feet to the fire, I guess.
And let's see here, other than that, the Gearhead get-together was on Saturday. Polestar Diesel did not disappoint.
No.
The weather was cool, but the band was hot.
Yeah.
But
We had no idea he was such a rock star. I
Yeah.
mean, we heard
Well-
rumors, but, you know,
So I
Saw in person.
heard from one of the county employees who was there and didn't even recognize him.
Recognize Lee?
Didn't even know that he was up there.
No.
also, this person was there and didn't realize it was Lee up there?
yeah.
Well, hey.
So it must be the wig he wears or something.
It was the colored hair and exactly. The selection of music was just outstanding. It was a hit parade, but,
It was.
and beyond that, Gearhead get-together itself, my first time there, and, boy, if you like cars and motorcycles and those sorts of things, and militaries, there was some old military vehicles. I mean, there was a lot of history there.
The dragster.
Lots of history. I mean, there was motorcycles that must have been, what, from the late 1800s, literally? Would you say?
Yeah, there's some real antique, cool
I
stuff
mean,
there.
literally in the original era of motorbikes.
It would have been the early 1900s.
Maple Lake was very
I don't think there was
patriotic.
any in the 1800s.
Yeah, well, I don't know. What do you think the first, was it, I believe there was something that was dated 18-something, if I'm not mistaken.
They weren't production bikes, they were individual.
It was definitely not production. It was one made, just somebody made one, welded it up, and there, you know what I mean, but
What powered it?
I don't know.
Steam?
Did you go see all those old bikes, Lee?
I didn't know,
Oh, you didn't?
didn't get to look at them
I
in
didn't see
detail.
some of
Charlie, what do you, did you see the old bikes? Did you go, you didn't go over to that area?
No, I just came to see.
Oh, there were
Lee.
some that you could, and they were so prehistoric looking, it was, you'd almost think it'd been easier to walk than ride the thing, but,
I think the early ones, they probably were.
it's like, my goodness.
Horses were
that-
faster.
But anyhow, maybe it was the early 1900s then, but it had to be certainly the turn of the century.
Yeah.
I said, I came to see Lee, but I couldn't ignore that dragster when they fired that thing up. Whoa.
Yeah, ooh, you know.
Yeah, they're a little louder. aren't they?
It's like be quiet cars, we're
With
trying to
just
hear the
fire coming out
band.
the exhaust, yeah.
Lots of, there was a number of bicycles from like about 100 years ago that they took a bicycle and then they fastened a motor to it
Yep.
and, you know, that looked like it was, you know, probably from like the 1910 or somewhere era, but that's all I got.
First off, is Lindsay bored?
Avoiding Bob.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, okay. I thought maybe she was on break and, you know, and just decided that the break room just wasn't exciting enough and decided to come down here and
She wanted some white noise.
listen, you know, just
Oh, yeah.
learn.
Or
That's
what-
a pretty red that you have. After we toured the Pine County building, I went down to a local government roundtable on regional buffer workshops. It was put on by the Association of Minnesota Counties, Minnesota Association of SWCDs, and the Minnesota Association of Watershed Districts. A couple of dates the county has to keep in mind. As of November 1st, 2017, buffers are required on all lands adjacent to public waters, and that will mean an average of 50 feet, minimum of 30. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. I'm not sure that it's going to be a big issue for Wright County as far as public waters. The next one will definitely be a concern for Wright County. That's on November 1st of 2018. Buffers are going to be required on all county ditches, which is 16.5 feet.
So that is only county ditches, not county tiles?
Yeah, tile, you do not need that.
No, tiles are underground.
Yeah.
So
You
if
do
it's
not need a
underground, if it's an open ditch,
Yeah, open, but part of a county drainage ditch, there's a tile system. There's
Yeah,
no-
but
okay,
they're
that's what
not-
I'm presuming. I'm presuming that, but.
there's no way for water to theoretically enter into a tile. But the other thing that we have to worry about is March of next year, March 31st. We must notify Bowser if we want to do the enforcement of the buffer rule. If we don't, then Bowser will do it. And the way the law was written is that they want the counties to take initiative on this. The way that law was written in there. If we decide not to do it by the end of next March, we can at any time, 60 days before we want to take charge of it, we can send notices to Bowser that we're going to take over enforcements of it. And by doing enforcements, we just need to have how we're going to do the compliance and how we're going to do enforcements. One of the things they did talk about is that they'd rather do it with a carrot than a stick, is the whole idea behind this. There are some monies available for the farmers and stuff like that. We are going to need to have some discussions with Wright County Soil and Water on some of the other water courses, because one of the other requirements of this, if it's not a county ditch and it's not a public water, but it has the potential for polluting surface water, it has to be reported or put on a map. Can't think of the word now. So it just has to be put on a map,
Yeah.
evaluated, and say, this is it.
If there's a violation, you're saying?
No, all waterways, if it's a ditch, if it's a private ditch, or, well, it's, for example, let's take the Otsego Creek over in Otsego. If that's not on the map, that'll have to get put on the map.
Well, we've received the maps, haven't we? And then isn't somebody here, Soil and Water or P and Z, supposed to be looking at those maps and verifying
Yeah,
accuracy?
but then again, if it's not on the map, SWCD has to look at it and evaluate and say, should this be put on the map? Here we go. Other water courses, to the inclusion by the county. Um, So that was it.
Mark, I do have a question on that.
Yeah.
Did the Corps of Engineers versus the DNR versus Soil and Water versus all those
Corps of Engineers
come up with a definition of public waters? Because they were arguing over what was a public water and what wasn't a public water.
The public waters, at this point, DNR has control of what they're saying, and it's a simple process. A river, a lake, those are public waters.
Put down the Kool-Aid.
So how about a
You said DNR
private
simple
drainage ditch?
process. I know better than that.
They're not covered right now.
They're not in the law at all?
Nope. Private drainage ditches are not in the
That
law,
process.
but they have to be eventually put on, evaluated by the Wright County Soil, or by the Soil and Water Districts.
So a county drainage ditch has the potential to pollute, but a private drainage ditch does not.
Like I said, at this point, Soil and Water has to put it on a map and state, this ditch is over here. So my guess is that in the future, it will be addressed. But right now, they're dealing with just the county ditches and public waters. So they are coming up with some guidelines, Bowser is, that will be coming out to us. So the use of the buffer protection map is to identify the waters, provide assistance, and implement buffers. And again, they really want us to, at this point, the way the law was written, for us to be
Enforcing agent?
enforcing agent.
Am I correct in saying that the Soil and Water by statute is the reporting agency? It's their responsibility if they're required to report, but they don't enforce, but they are required to report.
If we choose not to enforce, Bowser can allow them to do the enforcements. But there are some ag loan programs based off the drainage. So I've got some additional information here. So anybody that wants to look at it. And then we should have somebody that also has access to adjusting the map. So I don't know if it's Wright County Soil and Water, or if it's our planning and zoning. And then one other thing, I've been getting calls regarding mosquito controls because of our bumper crop this year of mosquitoes. I've had a number of calls, people wanting to know if we're going to look at possibly doing mosquito control as they do in Minneapolis.
Like the tablets
And
that they
it's,
drop
and it's
in?
coming from the east side because they see Metropolitan Council spraying over in Dayton and Rogers and that sort of stuff. But I just thought I'd throw it out there for us to think about for the future. Big name is Zika. From my understanding, at this point, Zika can't come up this far because it's too cold, but I don't know.
It's a different mosquito.
Wasn't the
That's a
cost
different
of
kind of
mosquito control
was-
$500,000 to $1 million a year?
Yeah,
Wasn't it pretty expensive?
it is really high.
It was looked at, I mean, I don't know if I'd say looked at, but about maybe a dozen years ago, we kind of had one of these years, and, you know, we got some feedback from folks, and we had Mark Mattice, I believe, kind of did some research, and the numbers were astronomical. And there's also, I mean, there's a political element to it too. You know, what, it kills the mosquitoes, what else does it harm and kill? And, you know, so there's some people that don't want it because of, you know, they're concerned about the other aspect of it.
Kills honeybees and stuff too.
You know, so one, you've got the big costs, and then two, there's other things that come with it. As we all know, you know, tweaking with Mother Nature, you just can't get what you want. There's
processes.
you know, there's byproducts of it, and,
Well, there are some new cat products.
but, you know, like I say, but you're right, it's very expensive.
So anyway, I just throw that out there.
When I first got on the board, actually, the Metropolitan Mosquito Control actually used to treat in Wright County.
Yeah, they
Oh,
have
really?
a couple, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember them doing a few ponds.
And I think because of, one, the large costs, and two, the uncertainty of, I think the theory was that, you know, the wind blew them into the metro area or something like that. and-
Well, because they were
The mosquitoes in
border, a
there,
lot of the
but-
border, I think,
But they stopped doing that, and I guess they decided that it didn't create value for them to do that, so, they don't do that anymore. It's probably been 20-plus years since they have, but they used to.
Mhm. Remember them, they just put the tablets or the capsules, whatever it is, in your.
Yeah, and they may be, I can't remember, they might have even came to sent something to the county board that we had to sign allowing them to do it. We didn't pay it, but
Right.
we allowed them to do it. And that stopped coming in about 20 years ago or so.
Other than that, the tour up in
Yeah.
Pine County, I thought was pretty neat.
Yeah, I thought it really went good and it was very valuable, I thought.
Mhm.
Yep.
Which, where are we at with, do we have anything penciled
Polk,
down for?
yeah, it's on the web.
September 19th.
Yeah, updates on that. We are planning for the September 19th, which is a Monday, to go up and look at Polk, which is up in Crookston. That'll be quite a ways away. So we've made contact with their court administration and arranged for the day. We're just kind of working out the time, and we'll have to figure out logistics of driving and
We
so
have to
forth.
leave at like 4 in the
County.
morning then, or?
It's about 4 hours and 15 minutes one way, so we'll have quite a bit of drive time.
At the speed limit or
At
That
the speed
including-
limit?
at the way the Speaker of the House drives?
Is that including pit stops?
Not if I'm driving,
Okay.
so you know.
I'm
Well, I
driving,
assume
I'm
we'd
driving
be-
myself.
We take a 94 up there, I would assume?
Probably.
Well, the good news is I've got a 10-mile shorter trip than the rest of you if you start here in Buffalo.
Which is, unless you,
Or St. Michael,
Unless you take my
or
route.
Charlie, but
I have a
we could pick you up in Hastings.
20-mile longer.
that's fine. I still have 10 miles less because I'll drive that way,
Maybe you guys will pick me up too.
Well, I have a potential
County
110
tour.
mile less trip. if I'm up in
Oh,
Oxford.
yeah, hey, that ain't fair.
Just stay up there and just go from there.
Oh,
Yeah, Mike is,
we could drive up on on Sunday night and stay at Mike's place. No.
okay, the 19th, I got it in the book. When did that email come out, this morning, or?
Late yesterday, early this morning.
Yesterday
I didn't see it
afternoon,
yet.
late after, yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
So that's all I had,
Thank
Charlie.
Okay. Last Monday, we had a planning and zoning, the feedlot workshop. Kind of discussed our chicken ordinance and then the horses on less than.
Smaller acres.
A big
Yeah,
house.
on the smaller acreage too. And that went really good. I think it will be going out to the townships and P and Z will look at it and then it will come up to the board here, so.
So there were no concerns about the rabbit herds either?
No, I think it was everything worked out good, the way it sounded. And then also attended the All Safe Schools meeting at Buffalo Zion Church last week. There was a presentation about the child suicide thing, which is a real issue nowadays. And then also, they went around to all the different districts and to share what's working at their schools for different things. And there was a lot of people, not even from our county and stuff, that were coming to see what we're doing, and so it's kind of interesting
Kind of a
too.
model, I think, around the state and actually,
I think so. Anyway, that's it.
Well, I mean, we're in the right county, so we do things right.
It definitely is unique
It is.
and successful.
yes.
Well, it's just also like, what we just approved today too.
Great choice.
Right choice. That's totally unique.
Well, and I presume that probably came out of that
Concept.
relationship,
Oh, yeah.
the
Pat, I would want to mention one other thing too. A week from today, Kayla Mock, she's Princess Kay of the Milky Way, will be coming to the board meeting. And then we're planning on having a little reception for her in room 120 after, so. I think she'll be giving up her crown either today or tomorrow. I've been trying to get her to come all year, but it's just, they have such a busy schedule. And then she's going to school besides, so, but she said she would come in, she'd be happy to show up, so.
Is she gonna bring her butter bust? Or is that all melted?
butter
I'm
bust?
not sure, I don't know.
I mean, does that hang around for a whole year?
We could bring the sweet corn.
I have no idea what they do with that.
Makes it until the Cokato Corn Festival.
No, I didn't know we got there with the corn.
That would have been a great place to use it.
So, anyway, but if any of the public would want to come over to help honor her, that would be really nice, I think, so.
So,
great.
as long as you mentioned it, what time would the public come if they were interested?
I think if it's all right with you, I'd rather put that on the agenda real early if possible, so. And then what I thought is they could go over and start off at the reception and then we'll join them as soon as we could.
Do we
Yeah,
have that
we
room
start our
reserved?
meetings at
Yeah.
11 that morning.
Yeah, but you already reserved it for me right now. All right, that's it.
Sounds good. Thanks for setting that up, Charlie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else come before the board? There being no further business, we are adjourned at 9:55 a.m.